Hi, Nancy. How you doing? Hey, Rex. How you doing, love? Thank you for having my back last night, Rex. Sending you lots and lots of love. I really appreciate you. Hey, Autumn. How you doing? How is everybody today? I'm going to bring this down so I can see the comments a little easier, and we'll see how we can work with this a little bit today. I'm doing good. Thank you, Nancy. I'm really excited to do this. This is a project that is selfishly just as much for me as it is for you guys. I've wanted to do another one of these 3D designs for a while, and I just never got around to it. So I'm really, really excited to be spending this time with you guys today to show you how to do kind of 3D effects like this. I'm going to, while we're here together, I'm going to also pull out my Instagram, because I want to find a couple other pictures that I've been sent and that I have found to just show you some different ideas on how this is done and what are the different tools that you can get, all of that sort of thing. Thanks, Rex. Hi, Ra. Hi, Laura. How's it going, you guys? So, in today's tutorial, we are going to be talking about 3D design. So how do we get this design that's looking like it's almost coming right out of the page? There's all kinds of different examples. This is an example of one done by Delicate Dots Andrea, I believe. Let me just double check here. Need the brain to work too. Delicate Dots Andrea. She's done a few of these, so I want to show you guys how they look. Just going to scroll back on her profile here for a second. She's a fantastic artist too, you guys. If you're not already following Delicate Dots Andrea, I highly recommend her. She is incredible. She gives lots of fantastic advice. She's got some super freaking cool ideas, great colors, all of that sort of stuff. Now, but this is what I'm looking for. So see how this one here looks like it's coming right out of the page? Right? So different ways where you can kind of create these axes that give you almost this basis for the 3D look. I'm just going to see if I can find a couple others here. My friend Sharon sent me a couple of pictures. Let me see if I can find them here, pull them up properly so you guys can see them. Here's another one where you can actually get a stencil that has this in there for you to get those lines the way that you want them to. You don't need that, but you can. Hi, man. Hey, NB, how you doing? Got lots of people that you know here as well already today. Right? Instagram is fantastic. Pinterest is fantastic. There's so much out there to give us ideas. Like, look at how freaking cool this is. The same kind of idea of what's going out from the center, but using it to create a ring. This is where guidelines really are going to make a difference for you, because you want to be able to space things similarly distanced apart. So there's probably going to be a little bit more guideline drawing, a little bit more. Here's another really cool one that somebody did where it's a snake going all the way around. So many cool ideas. I'm going to show you another one that I did a little while ago. I just have to find it because it's back in my messages a little bit. Let me just find it here. All right, there we go. So there's another one that I started with. So just that kind of idea where it's going to just jump right out at you. That's what we are going to work on today. Had trouble getting here. I'm so sorry. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Stacy. I'm doing okay, Mandy. I'm glad you're here. Everybody who is familiar with a lot of the people that join on my TikTok lives, Mandy is NB. So it's so nice to have you guys here. So we're going to do a couple different things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our guidelines. And just like the other tutorials, it's not necessarily guaranteed that we're going to finish what we start on this one, but we're going to come up with a plan to at least get the ball rolling so that you can easily continue it and finish the piece on your own. I just want to make sure before we begin, are we all good with the lighting and the sound? Everything's okay for everybody right now? And you know what? I'm really cold today. I'm grabbing a blanket. Hold on. A little later, I might put my headphones in. You know, it's Saturday. Households are busy and everything. So if I need to, I'll put my headset in, and that hopefully will cut out any background noise if we have any. But for right now, I think we are pretty good. Awesome. All right, guys. So first thing we're going to do to get started, let's do our guidelines. Okay, so I'm going to keep this one off to the side here, because the first thing I want to do is create my north and south poles and then corner to corner. So this is going to be a refresher. This particular one that I have is, I couldn't find my 6x6s, so I have a 9-inch by 9-inch square canvas. Here, I'm going to put it up higher a little bit here, and then I'll catch up on comments in a bit. I'll move it around again once we get the guidelines drawn and get into the detail. Okay, so here. How can I do this so that my face doesn't get in your way? Let's see. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark at 4.5 inches because that's my center. So mark your center. And actually what I usually do is I mark it one up here and then another one somewhere else so that I can have a couple points to line everything up with. I also like using these clear rulers so that I can see the lines and where they line up with the sides of the canvas, because then that just is another way to help me keep my line straight and level with the rest of the piece. So I'm going to draw that line across. I've got it lined up again here, so I'm going to choose 4.5. And then this time I don't need to do those multiple points, because when I line up one of these lines on my ruler with the center line, it's still going to make sure that it helps me be perfectly perpendicular. So now we have those two. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and we are going to start dividing these sections in half. So when we look at this one, we've got these quarters are being divided in half, and then each of the eighths are also going to be divided in half, because we want to create a guideline in here so that we know where we're directing these lines to stop. We can eyeball it. I eyeballed it on this one. This is the very first one that I did, and that's not a problem to do that. But just the longer I keep doing this, the more I realize what a sucker I am for really good spacing. So I apologize if my face gets in the way here. So with my protractor, or you can just do corner to corner. If you don't have a protractor, that's okay. You can eyeball it again. It's not a huge deal. So I'm going 45 on each side, and then I'm going to spin it around, and I'm working with the Lazy Susan today. I haven't worked with the Lazy Susan in a while, but it's fun. Okay, and then we've got 45, and then 135 over here. And then I'm going to line these all up. I'm not going to necessarily worry about lining up with the corner. I want to line up with these marks and the center. Because once we get out to the edges, we can kind of deal with whatever has come for us, right? And it has evolved in the piece. But got some gunk on that side of the ruler, so I just flip it over. And I still use my lines in here. It kind of lines up with this one, helps keep it perpendicular. Get it nice and close to the center there. Oops, and I'm going to move it over so I have a little bit more space with the ruler. And right about there should be good. All right, so now we have those ones. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to divide each of these in half. Okay, so they are, if you're using the protractor for the math for that, this one's a 45, this one's 135, and then what I do is it's 22.5. 22.5 times 2 makes 45 degrees. So what I do with my protractor is I go 10, 20, 1, 2.5, and then I go 10, 20, 1, 2.5. 10, 20, 1, 2 and a half, 10, 20, 1, 2 and a half. So I do that just because it's easier math for me to do that and count from either end instead of trying to figure out what 45 plus 22.5 is. That just seems cumbersome to me. So we're going to go there. We got that one. And then we got this one. I'm lining it up with the center and with the dot that I made. Okay, so this is basically, you're dividing it into 16 parts. And then what I always do, I use a watercolor pencil crayon now because a friend of mine, thank you Jan, sent me some watercolor pencil crayons to try instead of using a charcoal pencil. What I found is that any kind that you use, any kind of pencil that you use, if it has any kind of waxiness to it, it has the potential to distort your dot. So if I was to put a dot over top of this line, it's very possible that the dot would get pinched in on the sides here where it crosses over the line. So what I typically do is I just take an eraser and I'll go over the entire thing really quickly just to kind of get rid of some of that wax. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put in a ton of guideline circles. This is just to help me space everything along to make sure that I'm progressing outwards from the center in the same kind of way, in the same amount of time. Lazy Susan makes this really easy. So I'm just going to put a whole bunch of these on here. I don't know how many I'm going to need or if I'm even actually going to use them, but I'd rather have them down and not use them than to start painting and find out that they would have been helpful and have to either start over or potentially screw up my center dot by having to use the compass, all of that sort of stuff. So I would rather put the guidelines down and not use them just to be on the safe side. So I'm not measuring these precisely or anything like that. On my compass, I do have the ability to look at how many centimeters apart these lines are going to be, but I'm not going that far to make them all exactly the same. I just want to kind of have some of those guidelines to make sure, again, that when I place dots, they're all in the same kind of orientation on their line out from the center. So I'm going to keep going out here all the way to the edge. And I'll probably go in and add a couple more in the very, very center. I love the Lazy Susan. There we go. So that's close enough. We've got pretty much the whole thing out there now. Everybody see that okay? Okay, so let me just make sure here. The sound is a little muffled. Okay, let me try this. I'm gonna move my camera in here a little bit. I'm afraid that it might be blocking. Whoops! Oh God, I'm sorry, my phone just snapped right out of the holder. I'm so sorry. All right, let's see. Is that any better, you guys? Let me know if that's any better for the sound. I hope that that's okay. All right, Jan says we're good. Visuals great, awesome, okay, great. My face gets in the way sometimes, totally right. All right, let's see here. Once my phone charges up a little bit, we'll switch over and I will use my headset. That's what I'm trying to say. So I am going to put this back in the middle here. And I'm going to just lengthen, oops. Oh, I did that tight. Geez, I'm strong. All right, here we go. I am using canvas. I did prep it with 3 coats of base color. The only reason I did that is because I wanted to smooth out some of the fibers. I really want to start working with canvas more. So what can happen when you're working with canvas, especially some of the more inexpensive canvases, the fibers in the canvas can distort your dot shape as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do though is right here before I get going on the north pole, so when I'm looking at it this way, on the north, on the east, on the south, and on the west, I'm putting an X, and then on the northeast, southeast. I'm thinking, can you hear the wheels? Can you hear the hamsters running? The wheels are squeaky today. And then southwest and then northwest. The reason I'm doing that is because these lines with the X's are going to correspond with these main lines here. So just in the beginning, until I get my pattern started, I don't want to turn this and think I'm working in a different way than I actually am. I really like to dumb it down for myself to make sure that I don't make mistakes. No, helps when you spit on the canvas too. It adds some texture. It's nice. I'm doing book folding while watching and listening to the live. Fantastic. That's awesome. Well, I hope that it's a nice relaxing place for you to come and hang out. Okay, so now we pick our colors. You can do as many colors as you want. You can do different shades of the same color. I had 2 different ideas thought out. One of them is to do a bunch of teals. The other is to do a rainbow. And I don't know about you, but right now I would really like a rainbow. Nice, bright, fun, happy colors. So first step in all of this is to choose your center dot size. I tend to go a little bit bigger on a canvas than I would on a small stone just because there's more space. But you can go as large or big as you want. All it's going to impact in this particular case is going to be how small we go in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to choose a fairly large one. I think I'm going to choose a size 24. These are my DIY Mandala Stones dotting tools. They come in a bunch of different sizes. You can get them on Etsy. They're phenomenal. I do a super crappy job of keeping mine clean, so please do not follow my example with this. Cleaning them off, very hot water for about 15-20 seconds. Then they say to use a non-scratch surface to clean them off and then repeat as often as necessary to get the paint off. The best way to do it is to do it before the paint dries. So if you are new to this and you pick up a set of these tools, please make sure that you are much more vigilant at cleaning them than I am, because then they end up like this. And eventually what happens is paint starts to build up along the edges. That can impact the shape of your dots. You can scratch or notch them out here somewhere. That can impact the shape of your dots. Paint builds up on the bottom and that can impact things. Certainly not a panic moment, but you will notice it if that happens. And that's okay, Jan. What colors are you thinking of? Does everybody have their colors picked out? The beauty with this design is you can do it all in one color if you want to. You can make each row a different color. So we could do that. Let's talk about that. Because remember, Andrea, Delicate Dots Andrea, she had that one that was kind of going around where the lines were curved, and she did each one a different color. So there's always that option too. I think I'd like it coming in from the center though. So let's keep going. All right, so we're going to place the first center dot, and I'm going to get down a lot closer. I chose for different blues. Nice. Hey, Jen, how you doing? You guys, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I used to live in New Brunswick. I lived down there went down there for school for 4 years, moved home for a couple of years to Ontario, and the New Brunswick is just north of Maine in the U.S., if you're not familiar with it. And one of my work colleagues is here, one of the ladies that I used to work with, and she's lovely. I'm doing a couple of mugs for her too. A couple other mugs got in the mail today, Jen, too. Yay, they're on their way. Okay, so I dip my tool in, and I have this much paint on it. So it's a little bubbly, a little bubbled. And now I'm just going to try and get this in the very center. So when I'm lining this up, I'm just looking at how far away my tool is as it's coming down towards the canvas. Is it basically in the center of this? And it's not. So what I'm going to do, this is probably the most frustrating part of the entire process for me, is getting everything right into the center. So what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to wipe this off. There we go. Oh, and I didn't remember to erase my lines. So bear with me 1 second. While that's drying, I'm just going to really lightly go over these lines with an eraser just to help make sure that there's not too waxy stuff on there, and I'm just going very, very, very lightly. So see how I can still see those lines? They're just not quite as prominent. So I'm not putting a lot of pressure on the eraser at all, just very lightly. I can still see my X's. And again, this is just to help make sure that any of those lines that we put down don't impact the shape or size of our dots when we are dotting right on those lines. Anything waxy can cause a little bit of pinching. So just kind of keep that in mind. And one of the most common things that I tend to do, which is something that I'm kind of trying to work on, is I do the erasing after I put my first top dot down, because I always forget to do it before. So this is a big win for me, being able to do this now, while that center dot spot was drying up there. Okay, so what I'm going to do before I put the center dot down again, I'm just going to redraw very quickly this center line. And this is why I'm doing this. These two center lines, when I hold my tool on top of it, I can kind of look around from side to side and see if this line is kind of dividing my tool in half in each way. It just helps me center it a little bit more. All right, Barb's here with her popcorn. Fantastic. All right, you guys, let's try this again. Center dot number 2. Do not get discouraged if this happens. I've had pieces where I've had to lay down the center dot 6 or 7 different times before I got it in the right spot. It's okay, I promise. That's the other reason why, and you'll hear me say this a lot on my lives and on my tutorials, it's one of the reasons why I use a black background. It's very forgiving in that it's easy to wipe down the paint, throw a little bit of black paint back over that spot, and you'll be able to easily cover up anything that you're not happy with, or if you have to redo anything. So I'm just going in with another little tool, just moving this paint around. I don't want to add too much more paint to it. What can happen sometimes, depending on the weather, where you are, the consistency of your paint, if the edges of the dot dry significantly faster than the center, then the center can crack, and you can see cracks in your dots. And I got my tweezers, Jan. I'm ready this time. All right, so how we're going to start with this is I'm going to take my orange, because that's going to be my second color, and we're going to do some alternating slightly larger and slightly smaller dots. So when I think of this, I'm thinking about when I do walking dots, what is typically the size tool that I use for, say, the second, even the first row of walking dots around a larger dot. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to grab this mug, because this mug shows it really, really easily. Okay, so when we're looking at this one here, so I'm talking about what size tool would I use for this dot right in here. Okay, so it's not going to be as small as the ones that we would see in the walking dots. And because this is going to be a type of walking dots, I want to kind of start with this larger one, and then they'll get smaller from there. So when you're looking at how you typically do this, and once you're comfortable with your tools and everything, you're going to choose a fairly small size, but not the smallest that you have. Okay, so my small size is going to be this one. And I'm probably going to use this one for 2 or 3 as we go out. Okay. Painted a purple background, nice. And 2 purples and a gray. Oh, that's going to be beautiful, Sharon. Hi, Renee. Thanks, Jan. All right, so on the poles, on these ones where we have the X's, right? We have these X's on our north, northeast, east, and all the way around. On those ones, I'm going to put a dot with this tool. Okay. And then I can turn it if I want to being able to turn it is really, really helpful. Oh, I gotta move it up though. And here, let me get down even a little closer. Is that okay there, you guys? Actually, I'm gonna go over here and then I will divide it in the middle. The thing I like about guidelines is that you don't have to follow them. They just give you a place to start, right? And a place to line up with. You don't have to stay on the guidelines, but it gives you something that you can line up with. Like if I know that this dot is going to always be just to the slight right of the line, then I can reproduce that as I go around, right? Okay, so now these are going to be our larger dots, right? Make sure you're cleaning off your tool on a regular basis as you're going around. And now we're going to go in with a small tool and do probably 3 tiny dots in between. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this. I've got a bunch of different lights on, you guys, so let me just try something here. I want to see what happens when I turn some of them off. Nope, that's not the one I want to do. Let's try this one. How's that? Let me turn that one back on. I think we're always going to get... Yeah, so they still are fairly tiny. But I'm going to be able to get in with my size 1 tool and put in a couple smaller dots in here. And I'm going to do that again with the orange. So I'm doing 1 in the middle and then 1 on either side. Okay. You might hear some Finnegan snoring while we are doing this tutorial as well. He's having a pretty deep nap right now and he's snorting an awful lot. It's fantastic. And again, don't be too picky with yourself. This is a new design. See? Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. See, this is what happens all the time. You end up changing things around. So I'm actually going to take that out and we're just going to put 2 small dots in between. I'm using the silicone end of a dotting tool that I have. I'm not going to take them all off if I don't have to. I feel like everything is really blurry. Okay, so we're going to go back out here a little bit. All right. I think when I get up close, it screws up the focusing on the camera. Who knew that drawing guidelines and putting down these few first dots would take half an hour, right? Happens. That's okay. I'm going to paint over it with black. And by the time I add the other dots, we'll be able to come back in and fill in these spaces here. Easy peasy. This can happen too, you guys. Mistakes happen no matter how much you plan out a piece. So be nice to yourself if this happens, okay? But they are still pretty tiny, so I'm gonna let that dry for a sec. And you know what the other thing is too? I didn't stir this paint, so let me give this paint a quick stir. Make sure that it's good and ready to go. All right, back to the orange there. Wipe off the tool. And we're going to look at these other ones now. Okay. Makes us feel better. I have those struggles. And they're not going to go away, right? We're just going to have them. And it's about being able to adapt to them and be able to not have them completely derail you, right? Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. There are times where I have to walk away and say, yep, time to move on for a little while. And that's okay. but we got to be nice to ourselves. Because this is supposed to be fun, right? This is supposed to be fun. Okay. Here we go. All I can hear is dog snores. Oh, I wish that I could catch it so you guys could hear it. It's pretty fantastic. All right, so we're going to let that dry for a second. So just let me talk about the plan of what we're going to do while we're waiting for that to dry. We're going to keep going with this size dot for a little while until we start to create those points that are meeting in the middle. Okay, now these are straddling that line, and that's okay. Totally okay. They're straddling this line right here. Okay, I could have gone smaller and put in even tinier dots, but I really didn't want to go quite that small. That seemed a little bit more work than it really needed to be. So what I would suggest, and I'll show you again on Andrea's, it's good to take a look at a bunch of different artists' work to see how they get these items started, right? How they get these patterns started. Let me find it. It was back a ways. Okay, so let's look at this one for a second. So in comparison, when she's in here, she does the slightly larger dot and then the two little dots in between. And then she starts to bring, when she gets in this second row, it's a little bit blurry, but when she gets into this second row where the second dot comes in, she almost lines it up to walk the dots to in between so that these walking dots meet kind of in this little dip here. Okay, I don't know if you can see that very well, but so when we add the second dot out here, we're going to walk the dots down from it into this little dip. That's kind of the angle we're going for. Okay. I'm literally blowing on it to see if I can get it to dry faster. It's working. Okay, well, that's a little bit drier, so I'm going to move this up here, and I've got a dry spot, so we're gonna jump on it. Putting this dot down here. And then grabbing the tiny tool, which I put down, and it ran under the Lazy Susan. This is the only thing I don't like about the Lazy Susan is I put my tools down and they roll like crazy. Trying to blow the hair off the piece. Where's the hair? Did I get it? Bad hair days. Just put it in a hat or ponytail. Nobody noticed. Totally, right? All right, so now I'm going in with the smaller tool, and we're going to do 2 dots right there. And then this one, almost dry. I usually say that this paint dries really quick, but, you know, it's one of those things that it's, you know, like a watched pot never boils, that kind of feeling. And then here we go. If it's still a little damp, it's not a huge deal. You'll know if it's a big deal when you go to put your dot down, but it's still a little damp and it's laying down dots perfectly good. Use your eraser to keep the tools at, you got it when I blew the center dot. Okay, good. Sorry, Jan, what's your suggestion? Use your eraser to keep the tools, oh, to keep them from rolling under? That's a really good idea. All right, smarty pants. Got it all figured out. And there we go. And then there we go. Okay, so that's our beginning, right? So we've got our slightly larger dots at bay. Okay, thanks, Jan. All right, so now we're going to keep going. So I'm going to keep switching colors. I want to switch colors every row. This may or may not work out well. I don't know, but we're going to try it anyway. It's typically what I do when I'm doing kind of rainbow pieces. And I'm keeping this piece off to the side. So if you're working on one like this, I would highly recommend going in and having a look way back in my profiles, having a look at the image on the Facebook Live, looking at Delicate Dots Andrea, something to just kind of be there to help you remember what is the goal and what you want it to look like going forward, okay? So now I'm going to go in with yellow. I'm going to go in with the same size tool that I did for the first one. And I'm going to put this dot right out here. It's going to be basically the same size. Following the guideline out. Maybe slightly bigger apparently. But it can be the same size. And this is where these circular guidelines are going to help, because as you start adding these lines, yeah, I'm going to redo that one. It's way too big. As we start doing these straight lines going all the way out, it's going to help to make sure, like when I put the green one on, it's going to be about the same distance from this line as the green one over here. It just helps you keep a steadier, keep steadier track, I guess, of whether all of your rows are moving out at the same pace as you want them to, so that they all remain even and keep the design consistent, right? I hope that makes sense anyway. So the guidelines on the way out for the circles are not going to be for making circles. They can be, but it's really to keep going in a straight line this way. Getting screen freeze. Is anybody else having issues with the screen, with any freezing? Our internet went out last night, so I'm really hoping that we're able to get through this today. Let me know how your feed is right now. Is anyone getting any freezing or any issues? Or is it just poor Barb? Barb, you get the short end of the stick an awful lot, don't you? Not moi. Okay, poor Barb. All right, well, we're going to keep going. Good thing you get the recording, eh, Barb? You're still here. It's good. If you'd like a copy of the recording of this tutorial, there are two different options for you. One of them is on my website. Right now, if you were to go to the website, this tutorial would be listed for $1. And why that is because that is meant to be a tip of any amount if somebody wanted to choose to leave a tip for today. You know, these tutorials are free, so a tip is certainly not mandatory. But if you'd like to leave a tip, you can. And if you leave a tip of $5 or more, so that would mean going to the website and basically adding quantity of 5 of this tutorial to your cart, then I would send you the recording of the tutorial once I've got it uploaded and ready to go. Anytime after, say, Monday, or actually anytime after tonight, then you will see it listed on there for $5, and you can just order a copy of the tutorial. Now, if you want to get all of the tutorials, even the past ones, Patreon may be an option for you. It's about $17 a month Canadian. So if you were to pay $5 per tutorial for all 4 weeks, that would give you $20. So it gives you a couple bucks off, and it gives you access to all of the past ones as well. So that might be an option for some of you as well. And the link is in my link tree in my bio. My only issues are with brain freeze. Oh, thank you, NB. Thank you, Renee. Brain freeze, I totally get you. I'm okay with internet continuity and live feed. Okay, perfect. I've already screwed up and missed a guideline. I'm going to have to go back, so I'll be working a bit behind. That's okay. Who knows how many mistakes I'm going to make that I'm going to have to play catch up on, right? Some days I'm the stick, others the pinata. Yes, membership has its privileges. Right, totally. Because you could just pay $5 for all the tutorials going forward, but it's nice to have all of the past ones, right? All right, so let's finish this one. once this project gets going, it will get easier. It's always laying down the groundwork at the very beginning, right? That takes a lot of time to really get the base of the pattern going. All right, so now that we have these, I'm going to do walking dots, and I'm going to walk them to meet right in the middle. Now they're going to meet, so I'm going to do 3 on this in this direction, and when I go to do it this way, I'm only going to do the 2 because my third is already going to be there. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to use the no, we'll use this one. We'll keep going with this tool. So 1, oh no, not enough paint. There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Just keep turning it. Clean off the tool. You can clean off the tool. I clean it off on my hands a lot of the time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I find this part really calming, especially when you get to start doing a lot of counting. I do it all the time. 1, 2, 3 when I'm painting on my own. So this isn't stuff that I only do while I'm live with you guys. This is stuff that I do when I'm sitting by myself and painting too. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So this first row of these walking dots is really going to lay the groundwork for the rest of the piece, right? 1, 2, 3. Okay. How do I join your Facebook? If you just search Mandala Love Affair on Facebook where this event was, you should be able to like the page. And if you're looking for the Patreon, then just go to the link in my About page and the link in my website in there. Now, one thing that I want to let you guys know, I'm actually going to be starting a Facebook group where I'm going to run these tutorials from. And the reason I want to do that is because I want you guys to be able to post pictures of stuff that you create from this tutorial so we can all, we can all share what we've done and cheer each other on, but also to be able to post any questions that you have about any dot painting projects. And then we can work together to figure out what we want the next tutorials to be about, all of that sort of stuff. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I will be creating a Facebook group very, very soon. Thanks, Barb. Yeah, hooray for OCD, right? Then it's about how do we use our powers for good instead of evil? How am I going to do that? All right, just had to take a drink. Very, very thirsty. Okay, so there's a hair. Yep, there it is. Thank you, Barb. All right, so now I'm going to go back in, only this time I'm only going to do 2 dots because my third dot is already there in the middle. 1, 2. 1, 2. You can always dot, if you like to get in the rhythm of it, you can always dot that third dot again, right? So I can always go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, right? Please @ me. Okay, let me write down your username. How did you find this live? Are you able to click on the name of my page from this live? Is there anybody who's on this live that would be able to write down Renee's username for me and send it to me? Or here, you know what I'm going to do? Hold on. Even easier. Screenshot. All right, good. Yay. That was a crapshoot. I wasn't sure if it was going to kick me out or not, but it let me take a crapshoot. So Renee, I will @ you after this, after the live is done, okay? 1, 2, 3. On the new one too. Yes, I definitely will. But I want to use my powers for evil. Good is boring. Well, I can't argue with that. So see how we're starting to create that little dip in there, and we're going to keep following this little dip as we keep going. 2, 3. All right, so I'm going to use the same size again for my next color. I'm going to green this time. I'm going to use that same size, the one that I used to make the larger dot. I'm going to use the same size again. Stir my paints. If you are like me, that you just get your paints out before you start a project, you don't actually prepare them all, that is where I'm at. You'd think I'd know better, wouldn't you? You'd think. I tend not to learn a lot of the lessons that I think I should probably learn. You're most welcome, Renee. Yeah, I screenshot it for you, so I'll definitely be able to add you for that. So that's going to be coming soon. I think that's going to be an easier way for us to kind of all kind of communicate and talk about how projects are going and talk about ideas for future tutorials, all of that sort of fun stuff. So I'm really, really excited to get that started. One of my favorite things about how this has all evolved for me has been the incredible people that I am now so lucky to call my friends. And I am just so grateful for all of that. And, you know, I don't even, when I think about my page and everything, I don't even think of it as a me. I'm like, we have a great time, right? We do. We just have a great time, and we give each other lots of love, and we encourage each other, and we cheer each other on. And I think that, I think it'll be fun to kind of expand that even more. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram, so if you want to follow me there, I do go live on TikTok 4 days a week. They're not for tutorials, they're just for me working on work in process paintings, a little bit more chatting back and forth with each other on those ones, but they're a lot of fun too. Okay, so now we're going on to the next one. So we're going to start with our dots, and this is going to be the exact same process we're going to use all the way out, only we're going to start to eventually increase the size of the dot in the middle. Right, so I'm doing 3 again. Three again. 1, 2, 3. Sent you a private message with the link to Jamie's page. Oh, you're the best, Barb. And we'll definitely keep you posted when the group comes open, Renee. Now, where the nuances in this are going to come is how close are you getting to the previous row, right? Like I could be putting these dots way down here to go in there. All of those would work. You just want to keep it consistent from one to the next. You just want it to kind of pick away and do it that way. Now, that being said, there is no hard and fast rule for this. You can do it any way you want to, right? It's one of my favorite quotes that I've learned recently from a gentleman that I am taking a course with. And he always says to me, he's like, since you can do this, you're in on the Facebook group too. Okay, Paula, sounds good. I will definitely keep you guys posted. It's going to be soon. Like very, very soon. So this quote that he always says, and it always hits me every time he does, and it's something that I say to myself all the time now, is, since I can do this any way I want to, how do I want to do it? So since I can do it any way I want, how do I want to do it? So I just added another dot in there because these weren't coming close together enough for me. And that's okay. Especially in the beginning, these gets a little bit jumbled in the middle, but I promise you, when you get to the finished design, it is all going to look spectacular. The half petal design, yes. So this is, that was Jan, I believe, that was asking about that. So what you can also do is see how this one here is just a half petal. I could continue on and just do half petals. So like on every single one of these guidelines, I could have one of these center dots and just do a half petal all the way down. And that would give you a really, really, really cool 3D effect as well. So it's basically the same as this, only instead of having both sides, you just have the one and have the one repeated a lot more. Okay. So yes, thank you, Barb, for reminding me about that. So this is exactly how you would do those half petals. Maybe we'll do that for one of the projects too. I would love to hear your ideas. Like, so up until now, we've done just a lot of techniques and a lot of kind of, yeah, just really techniques and tips and tricks and stuff. And we haven't gone through and said, like, we're going to do this project. Mainly because there's a couple reasons for that. Number one is that when I create my pieces, like even as we're creating this, unless I go back and look at this video, I'm not going to remember what tools I used, what size they were, any of that sort of thing. So kind of when I'm thinking about, hey, this is the project we're going to create, is a little bit more of this is what I'm going to use as the inspiration for the piece on the tutorial, right? And this particular element of the design. And then kind of create a few more specific projects. What do you guys think about that? All right, so now we go to teal. I'm going to use the same size again as I did for the orange, the green, and the yellow. I think what I'm thinking in my head is that I will change the size of this when the tool that I'm using for the walking dots does not create a nice solid line. Like, you know, when it gets too thin sometimes to the end of your row of walking dots, that is when I will change the size of the tool. The thing that I'm enjoying about this right here too is that I'm seeing that when I'm placing these teal dots, they're all lining up nicely with this guideline, this round guideline that I have here. So this lets me know that I've done a good job with my spacing so far. It's not perfect, like this one is more on the line as opposed to just under the line. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's the basic idea that we want to just keep going forward with. And I didn't stir this paint, so that's why I'm having trouble with it. So I'm going to do the rest of these dots and then I will stir it. Sometimes what can happen with some paints, oh, I wish you could hear this snoring. Sometimes what happens is when paints sit for a little while, you get some thin spots and then you get some thick spots. And that's what stirring can help you avoid. It'll even out the consistency of the paint. I'm really, really bad for that. Really, really, really bad. I'm sure that there are some artists out there that if they saw how little I shake the bottle of paint before I pour it into my little paint pots or my palette, whatever I'm using, I'm sure they would have a little bit of a heart attack. So I just have some gunk on the side of this container. I'm just going to scrape it out here for a second. Bear with me. I'm trying to clean out some of this stuff so that my paint flows a little bit better and I don't have gunk landing in it, hopefully. But my hands are going to get messy. All right, so now we go back to the teal. I'm going to use the same tool I did for the walking dots again, and we're going to go do the right side first. And I stirred my paint this time. So now I'm going to go. Now this paint is substantially thinner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I love puppy snores. I'm sorry, it's killing me. He sounds like a 60-year-old man that's sleeping on his back. It's awesome. So this is where I count a lot as well, right? So I can see from one to the other. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm hitting the same number of dots each time. Okay. Nope. I did not pick a good paint here. 1, that's all right. We'll deal. Why is this being so ornery? I'm just going to change the tool for a second. There we go. Sometimes you just have to change the tool. Sometimes different tools provide or create different size dots depending on the consistency of the paint, and that's okay too. All right. So now we go in and do the next. See, and that's a little bit thick. So I'm going to go back to this tool and see if I can make it work. There we go. How are we doing, you guys? Doing all right? There we go. Yeah, this is a really bad paint choice for me because it's not working well. Makes me wonder if it's a multi-surface paint that I grabbed by accident. I'll mix some other colors up in there. For the sake of one row of blue, it's not going to make that big of a difference. My paint was a mess the other day. My dot would not come out. And sometimes that happens, and those are the times where I do a couple different things. I either remix the paint, or sometimes I've even just dumped it and start over again. I'll add a little bit of water. I'll sit and stir it kind of obsessively for a significant amount of time. And sometimes I just walk away and choose a different color, right? It all depends on where you're at. And sometimes our patience can take it and sometimes it just can't, right? Yeah, this paint is the problem here. Because it's certainly not me. Hello, Valbir. How are you, my friend? Welcome, welcome. It's good to see you. We have a good crew here today, you guys. We got 13 of us sitting here. This is fun. All right, now we're going on to the next blue. So again, I'm still going to use the same size tool because I'm still able to go in and use this tool to create the walking dots. So we're going to go here. We're going to see how this does. So still the same size as all of the other ones. I'm doing very good, thank you. Loving sinking in and doing some painting with you guys. It's very zen, very, very zen for me. If you guys are not on TikTok, or if you are on TikTok and you haven't followed me, there's a lot of fun stuff that just happened yesterday on TikTok. Apparently on one of my videos, and you'll see it on Instagram, my last video too. It's funny, hey, how one platform will react more than another. But I had a post get a significant number of views very, very, very quickly. And it was all because at the very end of the video, there was a ladybug that crawled out around a pot. And people were saying, oh my gosh, it's bed bugs. And like people just lost their minds. It was absolutely hilarious. This blue is probably my favorite. I don't know. I got this at the dollar store. I got it at Dollarama. It is DecoArt Craft Acrylic Paints. Ooh, that was really close. Sorry, guys. DecoArt Craft Acrylic Paints in Peacock Blue. Love this color. Love, 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 love it. Now, you're going to be starting to see me use an awful lot of folk art and probably Martha Stewart paints in the near future. I've signed on to be an ambassador for the main company that makes folk art, folk art, Martha Stewart, Dragon Glaze, Color Shift, all of those paints. So I'm excited. I'm going to keep you guys posted on that as well in the Facebook group because I'm excited to see, because I want to be able to do some giveaways and stuff too. And they are telling me that I'm going to be able to get product to do some giveaways, which I think is going to be super, super cool. Balbir, I have to tell you, every single time you pop in here, it's just, you're just a damn ray of sunshine. And it's so lovely. I know we're all so happy when you're here. I love this crew that we're developing here, you guys, and I think it's something special. I don't think that This sort of stuff doesn't happen by coincidence. You don't find your people like this out of coincidence, right? So how are you guys making out? Are you doing okay with your walking dots? I think on the next row, I am possibly going to go up a size for the first dot. Now, depending on how picky you are for symmetry and everything, you might decide that you want to make sure that you're creating a piece like this that always, always, always has the same number of dots on each side, anything like that. And you can always do that. It depends on what makes you happy, right? If that level of symmetry makes you happy, then go for it. Just be patient with yourself while you practice, right? Because it takes time to get to that point and to get all of your guidelines and all of that fun stuff. So just be kind with yourself if you really want to stick with that sort of stuff. Oh, yeah, I don't know. What kind of brands do you have access to, Renee? South Africa. That's so freaking cool that we are all hanging out together from so many different parts of the world. I'm in Canada. We've got some other Canadians here that are from all across the country. We have people from the US. Where else do we have people from today? Yeah, they're cool paints, Jan? Like it's stuff that one of the criteria of being an ambassador for this company is that you need to, if you want them to post your work and share your artwork, you have to only use their products on a particular project. So for example, if I created a project where I used some DecoArt paints, some Craftsmart paints, and some folk art paints, they wouldn't share that piece of work on their site. So really, it's easy, and I can still use those other brands of paints, just not in the same projects, and only if I want them to be shared. If I don't want them to be shared, I can use whatever I want and still tag them and do that sort of stuff, which is really kind of cool. Mandy's in Canada. Belbeer's in India. So what kind of brands of paints do you have access to, Renee? There's one brand of paint on Etsy that I have been dying to try. And I think they may come, Russia maybe? But they're beautiful little jars of paint, and the colors are all animals. And it's really, really, really cute. And the paint looks beautiful. I want to say it might be Easy Mandala. I've seen them use that brand of paint, but there's a couple different people, I think, but I think it gets sold on Etsy. We have Dala and Genuine Heritage. So, are either of those a more thick paint or a thinner paint for you? Because it's really all about getting the consistency, right? And if you have a nice blue, you could probably add, if you have some neon, you could add some bright purple to that blue, and it might help you create this kind of midnight color. That could be fun. What does that say, Jan? What seems good? For Verkle? Let's start a brand of paint and we're going to call it For Verkle. All right, here we go. So I'm going to go back in now and do the next row of walking dots. See how they're getting a little bit larger now? And that's okay. Oh, I went the other way this time. And that's okay too. Chalk paints from iCraft and Fevicryl. Okay, thank you. Heritage, better acrylic for dotting. Nice. So play around with some of those paints. Oh, that's cool. Okay. I totally got to look. Jerry Lynn's lurking. You have a class today? Our friend Jerry Lynn is a glass blower and dot artist, and just, she's so freaking talented. You should see the stuff she does. Go and check out her profile if you don't already follow her. She does amazing work. so talented. And her husband is so talented, and they just create art together and everything. They're just so freaking amazing. That's what you want. I said, if I had to have a boyfriend, this is what I would want. All right. Your favorite color. Yay. I like to add the teal in a rainbow, and I also add pink after the purple. Oops, not quite enough paint on there. So you see how I'm working these walking dots in towards that center dot? So when I'm putting that last dot on, it's right on that line. And that's very satisfying, I've got to tell you. So we're just slowly, gradually making those dots a little bit bigger and working all the way out. Now, one thing I want to show you too, once we get out here a little bit further, is sometimes you're going to get to a point. I like doing the walking dots with the dotting tools the best. I don't do well doing walking dots with the flat tools. But you're going to get to a point where you reach the largest size of the dotting tools that you have, and you need to be able to go further. So we're going to look at that here too. I'm hoping let's see, how are we doing for time? We're 2:06. Okay, so we're just going to power through and get a couple of those. And I'll show you actually what it would look like on the next row, just to get you an idea. So when I get to a point where the walking dots need to be done, but the largest tool that I have still isn't large enough to go all the way down and carry that much paint. Or I don't have a dotting tool that creates as large of a dot as I need, I will use a combination of my flat dotting tools, the flat round dotting tools, and the nail dotting tools that have the ball on the end like this one. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to if I was out there and I didn't have a dotting tool that was going to be a nail dotting tool that was going to be creating a dot large enough, I would actually go to one of my flat tools, and I would use one of my flat tools for this first dot and for at least the first two on the sides. So let me show you what I mean by that. Oops, got chunkies in this paint. Chunk. All right. So I would use my flat dotting tool to create the dot. Oops, too small. Hang on. So I would use the flat dotting tool to create the dot. And this is another way you can do the walking dots if you don't have the nail dotting stylus tools. If you don't have a set, I do highly recommend going on to Amazon or someplace like Wish or something like that and getting a set of the dotting tools. The nail dotting tools are relatively inexpensive. You can usually get a set for $10, and that'll include some stencils and maybe even a couple other tools. I sell them on my website for $2 or $3, I think. Maybe they're $3 or $4 Canadian, I'm not sure. So I do definitely recommend them because I do have a much higher success rate doing walking dots with with the nail dotting tools. So then what I would do is I would go in again with this tool and do the next dot here and the next dot here, right? And then once I have that laid out, then I can go back to the nail dotting stylus tool that I do have, and I can finish it off. Right? Does that make sense, you guys? So when you get it to a point where you have very large size dots out here, don't freak out. Use your flat ones and just slowly get it to a point where then you can switch over to one of these tools. Okay, let me scroll back because I think I missed some stuff here. So, and this is being nice. My mandala looks like poop. Why? Why? What happened? What happened, Jan? How can we help? I have open studio today, so I get to draw mandalas when my students try not to burn themselves. Fantastic. Yay. Or the waterier, less expensive, cheaper acrylics, 100% a good idea. That's honestly what I use a lot of my apple barrel acrylics for. So for anybody here who is able to use apple barrel that comes from Walmart, it is also a paint from this company that I'm going to be working with. I find them very, very, very watery. Every once in a while you get a really good one, but they can be very watery. So I use them for a lot of mixing. I find a lot of colors that are similar in two different brands. Folk Art tends to be the thicker of them, of most of them that I use. And if I can find a similar color in Apple Barrel and mix the two together, then it can make a big difference. All right, just need to take another drink. Here we go. How are we doing? Mine not so good either. This is a really, 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 really tough design. A really, really tough design to get used to. But the more you do it, the better it will get. Okay? And I see a really cold cat sitting in my window wanting to come in. So I'm going to just pause you guys for a quick second. Let you catch up, or you just keep moving forward for a second. I'm gonna let him inside, okay? Because he looks pretty cold, so bear with me. Hi. Hi, sleepy puppy. I'm going to open this door for a second. I'm going to open that for a second. And we're going to let LJ in. LJ. Oh, come on, bud. Yeah. Come on. Come on. Come on. Good boy. There we go. Door closed. Door closed. Kiss for the puppy. Kiss for the puppy. Kiss for Audrey. Hi. Okay. Thanks, guys. Sorry about that. It is so cold here today. Not Winnipeg cold like where it is where Barb is, but it's cold. It's the coldest snap that we've had in a long time. It was minus 30, I think it was minus 35 Celsius with the wind chill overnight. All right, let's see here. It's like lightsaber wars when you watch the students protect the eyebrows, right? Don't need anybody catching on fire. Oh, Jan, what's going on? How can I help? So let's pause here for a second. Let's not keep going. Rex and Jan or anybody else that has questions about how it's progressing, tell me what's happening, and let me see if I can help. Blue poop. Wine Mentalis. It's squishy looking. Now I see where I screwed up. Okay, do you need any help? I hope they took the stink out of the apple barrel. Someone told me the newer apple barrel does not smell. Really? Well, I've got a bottle of apple barrel white here. Let's see, just for fun. I know my multi-service apple barrels are really pungent. This white apple barrel, I would swear, was Elmer's glue. I don't know if I have another one sitting around. What other ones do I have? That's not apple barrel. That's apple barrel. Let's see. This is an old bottle of apple barrel. It's so hard because they have such great colors. Like, I look at this orange and like, really? It's gorgeous. It doesn't smell too bad. But then again, I don't have the best sense of smell either. It's not COVID. I could never smell very, very good. I haven't lost my smell because of COVID. Advanced design. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't go too far. City-run facility, frown on booze. Nothing like drinking alcohol and using 5,000-degree fire shooters. Wonder why they would frown on that, right? I think when Dots gets bigger, I'll be fine. And that's how I felt when I did my first two. So this is the third one I've ever done, okay? This is the very first one that I ever did. The other one that I put up the picture of was the second one, and this is the third. It will get easier and easier each time you do it. The first time I did it, I hated mine. Hated it. Oh, musty, moldy. Okay. Smells like basements. Ooh. Yeah. Just keep going. Try and force yourself to keep going. Even if you see where the mistake was, keep going. Keep going and practice. It will be good practice no matter what. 21 Fahrenheit in Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's cold. It's cold, cold, cold. No questions, but I added too much medium, so my dots are spreading. Thank goodness this is just practice. Good, okay. All right then. Well, then we'll keep going here. Here we go. The hardest part is this little bit in here. Right? The hardest part is that little tiny bit in there. The first time I ever did it, I just did all the same size dots all the way around in the middle and then started to branch them out. You can do that too. It's building it up. Once you get out to here, it's going to be just like doing the walking dots on any other petals. Oh, you're welcome. I want to make sure that you guys can sit and still enjoy being here and still enjoy the whole process of it. So keep going because it's still good practice. It's good practice for spacing. It's good practice for how to progress making these dots larger. Keep going and just use the whole thing for practice. You can always paint over the whole damn thing if you want to later, right? And I do this quite often as well. I'll dip and I'll put a dot, then I'll dip again and then go. It's completely up to you. There's different ways that you can stretch the walking dots so that one single tool size can take the row of walking dots further. Okay? Because yeah, once you get out to here, it should be very, very similar to doing the walking dots in the petal projects, okay? I found that you have to lift the dotting tool straight up. Yes, because especially if your paint is sticky, right? If you have sticky paint, that can really be difficult. It's all good. I just missed the alternating guidelines for the larger dots. Oh, okay. Then try just the half petals the rest of the way out, Rex. Maybe you'll like the half petal design. Anybody else have any questions? If there's anything that you're stumbling with, anything that you're frustrated with, please let me know. And just a little side note, I love wiping the paint on my hands. I feel so like an official artist when I do that. Yeah, the half petals are pretty, eh, Jerry Lynn? It's beyond help. That's okay. So you know what? Draw a dark circle around wherever you got to, and then you can start building it up around the outside and practice. Yes, walking dots slowly can sometimes help with the paint as well. The longer you hold the tool on the surface, and sometimes even just not even touching the tool to the surface and then adding the pressure of touching the tool to the surface can help you with your dot size too. Can I get mine as compact as you get yours? I'm already halfway to the edge of the canvas. Gotcha. Gotcha. Like a little rainbow fairy, right? Like doing something like this and a few rows of these is pretty, and then the idea of you can do like a bunch of circles around them. Any of the elements that we learn and go over, you can put them together in a piece in any way that you want to, right? Again, there's no hard and fast rule. Put it together how you want to and just pull those elements that you really, really like and want to move forward with. Okay, so now we're back to red. we got the red going. So we're going to go slightly larger. Love watching you. Thanks for the tips and technique. Oh, you're most welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad that it's helpful. I think it'll be really cool once we have the Facebook group up and running, because then we can, you know, share what we create. As I go through and finish the pieces after the tutorials are done, I can let you guys know when they're available, all of that different stuff. And we can share pictures if you guys want to share what you've created, or if you want to share other projects that you're working on and get advice and ask questions about paints or textures or techniques or any of that sort of stuff. I think that would be really, really fun. This red paint is very watery. I find that there's certain colors that you almost expect to be watery, excuse me, when you get them, or you expect them to be a little more translucent or transparent, right? Now that I've stopped focusing on my canvas and I'm looking at yours, I can see the concept a lot better. Oh, good. Good. Yeah, it helps to have another one that you're looking at, right? One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is very satisfying as you get going, though. Once you settle in and you get into it, it can get very, very satisfying. Yay! And Rex, as you get going back at it, or Jan, or any of you guys, if you try this again at another time, if you run into questions, anything I can help you with, you just let me know. Sharon, I want to be admin of the new Facebook group so I can reject new applicants. All of them, wouldn't you? You'd reject them all. Barb, no soup for you. Oh my God, I love you guys so much. You guys are amazing. Jamie's message may be all are welcome, but you gotta get past Sharon first. I'll have to add that disclaimer. All are welcome if you pass Sharon's tests, and it's really hard and you don't know. But I think it'll be a really good resource for us to be able to get in there. Fine, as long as I still get seafood. Fair enough. Jan has a question. Let's go. What you got? You can have my portion too. See? Everybody's looking out for each other. What's up, Jan? What can I do to help? Finding a really nice opaque red seems to be difficult. We finish this little quick row here of the last of the red, and then we will keep going. All right. Anyone want a cat with a blue left front paw? I will. Can you ship it? Can you ship it to Canada? Oh no, do they go right in there? Just step right in the paint? Was it a painting, or was it just paint that you had lying around? Maybe my ladybug was there and lured it in. Yeah, we're totally going to create some merch. around mug bugs. So I had a ladybug in my last video that climbed in and around paint. In case you didn't hear this story, it was pretty funny. People kind of lost their minds on TikTok. So I'm going to use it to my advantage. Create some merch. And you better believe I'm going to be making a mug that has ladybugs on it. All right. Yeah, the red is pretty. It's almost like a blood red. There's some beautiful, beautiful reds out there. What I'm doing now wasn't really bad. It was mostly just being a drama queen. Yeah, some powdered paint. I've been interested to try some powdered paint to thicken it up a little bit. And will that help with the opaqueness and the saturation of the color too, Renee? And acrylic gel medium will help thicken it up too, eh? I saw the bug and had to watch it a few times. Right? It was a little disconcerting, wasn't it? I got onto my live on TikTok last night and everyone's like, I'm here for the bug. And all I kept thinking is, like, what are you talking about? I had no idea it was in there. No idea at all. None. I'm like, what is everybody talking about? And then I saw it, and then I saw everybody. It was just too funny. Just too funny. I'm like, oh. And the thing is, you know, when you live in an old farmhouse, that happens, right? And you don't even notice it. I'm like, yeah, it's a ladybug. So what? It's around. They're around all the time. They're around. Stink bugs are around. They're just around. They're bugs. We're in the country. What do you expect, right? It was just so funny. I plan to dot my ears, my dog's ears blue. Blue's gonna have blue ears. But a ladybug inside the bottom of the mug. And watch your guest's reaction. Oh my God. That's genius. Yes. So I'll do a ladybug around the outside and then I'll get down in there somehow and I'll paint a ladybug like way down in the bottom in here. Oh my God, that's brilliant. Yep. Crawling up the sides. Oh, it's going to be so fun. It was entertaining, if nothing else. Do a 30-second vid with her using that run sound. Right? That'd be amazing. Yeah. We'll make it happen. I'm gonna make stones with little bugs on them, ladybug stones. The nice thing is a ladybug is pretty easy, right? I just have to do a red circle with some black dots on it, so it's not like I have to be a decent drawer or anything, which thank goodness, because I'm not. How are we doing? We doing okay? How are we making out? For those that are following along live, everything doing all right? That dun 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 run. That one. There's so many good sounds out there for that stuff. I've mixed powdered into the gelling medium just a titch, then put it into thin paint. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Renee. That's awesome. The only input I have on the bug on the inside is to think about placement in regards to where a spoon would be put. Ah, yes. Very, very good point. It's almost like I need to put it on the side at the bottom or something, eh? So that it's not going to get scraped. Well, and that's the other thing, though, is this stuff isn't paint. This isn't food safe. So I'd have to get some of that glass ceramic paint to be able to do that. Do some testing, some testing your paints. Your side may be different. Yeah, okay, I'll definitely play around with that, though. Was it pigment powder or mica powder? I know that this company has pigment powder, so I might have to add that to one of my orders. You never know, they might send it to me as part of my welcome package. I'm so excited. All right. On to yellow. Now I remembered from the other one that the yellow was a thinner paint. And I am going to switch out my teal too, because I've got this one. It's a little bit brighter. Maybe it's this one that I'll go with. Yeah, I'll go with that one instead. So I'm going to switch out my teal after as well. Now we're going to yellow. A real bug is food safe. I almost was going to use blue as my name before I picked Axel. No way. That's cool. What made you choose Axel? If you want to tell us, of course. You certainly don't have to. All right. So I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to use a slightly larger tool. I'm going to do the technique that I did earlier where I use the flat tool just to show you this again. So I'm using the DIY Mandala Stones tool, making it slightly larger. See how I've got those little pinches in there? That's because, I don't know if you can see that, that's because of the little pinches in there. That's because of the fibers in the canvas. Again, it's not a huge deal, and if you prep it right, I already had this canvas painted. I'd had other colors painted on it, and then I just painted it black. Otherwise, if it was a brand new canvas, I would do at least one, if not 2 layers of gesso. There's a couple artists that I follow that they actually use 3 and 4 layers of gesso before they start painting on a canvas. So gesso will help to smooth out the surface so that you aren't running up against a lot of the distortion that all the fibers in the fabric could cause. So just, excuse me, keep that in mind as another option going forward too. Okay. All right, let's see here. Yeah, I think Axel's cool. Axel's a great name. Totally badass. Kids powder paint. Oh, good idea. Mica powder, from what I understand, is more of the glitter stuff as opposed to pigment, but I'm not sure. Renee's daughter's name is Blue. Axel was going to choose Blue. Sharon's dog's name is Blue. That's so cool. That's all right. You don't need to know. Just felt good, right? If you see a name and it feels good, that's all that matters. This piece is looking good. All these vids for me to watch at the beach coming April. Better up my data plan, right? That's beautiful. Is there a lot of people that speak French in South Africa? Is that correct? I use mica and resin. Oh, is that good for... That's good for resin? I haven't played with anything other than the clear resin. I need to get back in there and do some more resin. I feel like once I get to know a little bit more and get a little bit more practice with the resin, then we can eventually do some resin tutorials too. Eventually. Oh, that's a beautiful name, Renee. Anan Bleu? Anan Bleu? I'm a terrible Canadian. I did not take French past grade 11. Well, there you go, hooking each other up. So I apologize. I'm not going to say it the correct way, Renee, but that's a beautiful name. Absolutely beautiful. How old's your daughter? That's so cool. That's a beautiful name. I always hated my name. Do you guys like your names? I always hated my name when I was growing up. I used to always say that I was going to change my name when I was old enough, when I was 18 and able to do it. Problem is, I couldn't think of anything else that I liked. Now Audrey's snoring too. I love the sound of happy, sleepy animals. Play around too when you're doing walking dots. Play around on how it feels to do the walking dots from different angles, right? How does it feel to do them across from you? How about when they're turned on its side as opposed to when they're right in front of you, right? So if I was to do a walking dot, I did the walking dot across, I could do this one coming down the side, because you might find when you kind of switch around your angles, you might find something that's even more comfortable and produces different results for you. You never know. As opposed to, like if I do it this way, this is normally the way I do walking dots. But there's so many different ways, and don't be afraid to switch it up and try it and see which ones work best for you. Let me scroll back and just catch up on my comments here. I only have the pinkest pink. Is it good? 25 turning 26. That's so cool. I hated my full name when I was younger because nobody could get it right. But then when I started just going by just Rex, it was a lot better. I think you have a beautiful name too. Paula didn't really like hers. I prefer my Hebrew names over my English names. The only people that use my name is one sister-in-law and y'all on Facebook, TikTok. Who else? What does everybody else call you if they don't use your name? Sharon already beat me to it. All right, so now we're on to the green. So we're going to go up another size again for that dot. I'm going to continue to use, actually, I'm going to keep using this tool. Let's see what this one does. And you can play, especially when you're doing with color, play with color in these kinds of designs, right? You never know what's going to come up for you and what kind of ideas are going to come up. And the same exact design can look dramatically different when the colors are different, right? So don't be afraid to play with color and try some different color combos. Because like I think of this one in a grayscale, like that would be pretty cool in a grayscale. I've seen people do this one where they do this center dot one color, like the one I'm doing now, and then they do a different color for the next two and a different color for the next two and then a different color for the rest of the walking dots. That's possible too. There's so many different ideas. I've been dweeby since 1989. Nieces and nephews don't know my real name. I'm Aunt Dweeb. That's amazing. Oh my God, that's amazing. I hated my name because everyone told me that it was a boy's name. Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. I was told the same thing though. Yeah. My grandma called me the baby for the first 2 years of my life because she was so mad at my mom for calling me Jamie. I like to tell people that I was named after the actress who played the Bionic Woman, because her name is Jamie, but she spells it differently. Who I was actually named after was the actress that played Laura Horton on Days of Our Lives. My mom was a big soap opera buff. She used to go to all the soap opera conventions and stuff. She was actually pen pals with Judith Light for a while. Like, used to hang out with Linda Dano. Yeah, it was a big soap opera thing for us. But I say the Bionic Woman instead because it sounds badass. Yeah, I like the unique names now. Soralea. Oh, that's beautiful. That's absolutely gorgeous, Sharon. We end up with having a relationship with our names, I think, don't we? All right, let's try this again. Are we ready? Let's go for the next row. So you can see how this is just going to keep progressing and progressing and progressing all the way out. And remember that when you get to a point, if the tool that you're using isn't going to take the walking dots all the way from the top center dot all the way down around to the bottom, you can always, like I can do one here, then I can dip again, do another one. Right? You can play around with how you're going to do those walking dots. You don't have to do it all with one tool. That was a big slowdown for me at the very beginning when I was learning a lot of this. I'm like, but my tool isn't carrying enough paint all the way down to the bottom. How am I going to do this? Right? So you just slowly build that part of the petal. You'll see Electric Mandala do this. You'll see Art of Points do this. You'll see Fine Rosa do this a lot. So it's a very common technique that you'll see people do to get the walking dot to get all the way down to the bottom. So like you'll very often see people come in and do these 2 dots and do that all the way around, then come back in and do the remainder all the way down. I do it quite often as well. There we go. And I'm really still happy with the spacing. I'm keeping an eye still on these dots and how far they are away from this next guideline to see how that spacing is keeping up, and am I staying relatively on track. One of my biggest faux pas for doing walking dots is I will hold it too far, hold the tool too much like a pencil, so it's too much on an angle on the side, or I touch the tool down too hard and it actually pulls off some of the paint and kind of distorts things a little. My nephew and niece just call me Auntie. They asked me to change my Facebook name to Auntie because they couldn't find me. Oh, that's so sweet. Nay. Farafay. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm so sorry, Renee. Farafay? Is that right? It's beautiful. Sounds magical and mystical. How's everybody doing? Any questions? We've got about 15 minutes left. So I just want to make sure that if you have any questions on doing this piece or anything else to do with dotting at all, please let me know. The recording for this video if you want to pre-purchase access to it, you can do that. You have to just change the quantity on the website to 5, because right now it's set at $1 to allow for people to tip a smaller amount if they choose. But if you would like a copy of the recording so that you can follow this again at another time, then the options are Patreon, where you'll get access to all of my previous tutorials for about $17 a month Canadian, or you can purchase them one by one on my website for $5 Canadian. So just know if you want to be able to watch this again, take a peek at a couple of those different options for you. All right. I got a little crusty bit I got to pull out of my paint here. I switched my blue just a little bit. It's going to be pretty much the same, but it should be a little bit better paint. Should be anyway. All right, there we go. So now we're going up. I'm going to go up a size slightly, I think. I really need to clean my tools. Is this going to be big enough? Yep. I find too that when the paint is watery, The fibers of the canvas are going to be almost more of an impact on the paint than if the paint is a little bit thicker, because the thicker paint just holds its shape a little bit better too, right? So if you have something that's a little too thin, just keep in mind that that's probably, you're going to feel that difference on a canvas that might feel like it's kind of getting in the way an awful lot, okay? So for this one, I am going to go through and do this and start working my way down. This is a time too where when you get it to this kind of point, it's really helpful to lay out your tools by size so that if you have to do this with more than one size tool, you've got your tools kind of in order so you don't have to go searching for the next size, and you can kind of put yourself on automatic a little bit, right? Kind of gives you a little bit of an assembly line. I'm not working, so I'll have to go with what I see here. Totally understandable that, and that's totally okay. There is never any pressure. That's why I want to make sure that these lives are still, are always free. And because there's so many good resources out there too, right? I think once you've seen some of the basics of somebody do it, then when you see other designs, you can almost pick out what they did, right? You start to be able to see what techniques they used, how they made it happen. And that is a really gratifying point in the process too, when you're like, I know now that I can look at a painting and understand what they did. So what would be a really good exercise for you too, Renee, is to do some searching online. If you have access to Pinterest, something like that, where you can kind of compile some ideas that are all very similar, right? That are all very similar. Well, don't worry about it, Renee, because we're going to keep doing a ton of tutorials. We'll repeat some topics with slightly different projects, so you just stick around, and especially with the Facebook group and everything. And we'll go from there. Okay. Hi, Allie. Oh, I love you too. Allie Steele, everybody, is 1.618 art. If you are not following her on Instagram, get your butt over there and follow her. And here on Facebook as well. She is an absolute, she's got such a big heart. And she is my oldest dotting friend since starting this new adventure. I'm so glad you're here, Allie. How you doing? Are you doing all right? Allie helps me out a lot. Allie, do you have any other resources that are free resources that you would recommend to people who, like, what are the free resources that maybe you'd recommend to people for learning how to do more dotting stuff? Lydia May is one that I followed on YouTube an awful lot. Christina Lee, of course, is spectacular, and she has a lot of fantastic information that she shares and goes through. Her color theory and expertise is just unmatched as far as I've seen by anybody. So there's lots of resources, but are there any other resources you can think of, Allie, that people should be checking out when they're still in the learning process? Which is Allie IG. Allie's IG is 1, so it's the number 1, and then the word point, and then the number 6, then the number 1, then the number 8, and then art. And that's her IG. Allie, do you want to drop your IG? Oh, I'm okay managing. I messed up my back badly last minute. Oh no, Allie, I'm so sorry. I hope you feel better. Okay, perfect. So she dropped that. Sue Sloan is another great one. She does beautiful work and she does great tutorials. So there's lots of great resources there for you. And yeah, just start saving images of ones that you would like to recreate, because the more you learn some of these techniques and the more practice you get, you will be able to start looking at a piece and understanding how they were put together and what techniques were used to create different effects. When I first saw this design, I was so freaking intimidated. And then I'm like, oh, it's walking dots. Okay, I can do that, right? And then it's less about the technique of how to do it and more about lining things up, right? So it's all about how can you relate it back to a technique that you already know, and how can you modify it to make it work even easier for you. But there's a ton of free resources out there, Renee. So you just keep us posted how we can help you. And especially once I get that Facebook group up and running, then we'll help you any way we can, okay? Oops, not in camera. That doesn't help. Started watching a lot of YouTube videos and started dotting. Yes. After my brain injury 2 years ago, I just sit and watch videos for hours. Then I just started and didn't stop. Totally relate to that. Because it's so calming, right? It's so calming and meditative. So yeah, just devour a ton of content. I remember sitting and watching a ton of videos. Ton of videos when I first got started. And I still do. Right? There are those artists where you see them dotting and you're like, I just can't look away. Even though I know everything that they're doing and I do it too, it doesn't matter. It's so calming. All right. Perfect. Let's do a blue. Yes, Allie, take care of yourself, please. Fantastic, Autumn. You will not be disappointed. Her work is spectacular. And like I said, she's one of the kindest souls you could ever hope to meet. All of these people here, I know I say it all the time, but my gosh, we've got a good group here. So grateful for you guys. All right, let's keep going. We're going to do one more row. And let me know before we get ready to sign off, because we're getting close to 2 hours here. Is there anything else about this particular technique, this kind of design, that I can be answering for you while we're still here live? Any questions that you have at all, whether it's about this, whether it's about other projects that you're working on, other techniques, the paints, the tools. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if you're watching this on the replay, on the recording, and have not sat with me to kind of go through some of this stuff or haven't attended other lives, please shoot me a message and let me know if you have any questions at all that I can help you with, okay? Okay. I think one big lesson that helped me was realizing that there's no right. Yes, one artist, tools, paints, methods won't work, feel comfortable for someone else. Yes, finding your own way. And that's so key. And thank you for bringing that up again, Allie, because that's something that we've talked about a couple times already. There's no wrong way to do it, right? I'm going to say that quote again that I've gotten from my coach and my teacher that I'm working with. And it's, since I can do this any way I want, how do I want to do it? Right? And that's how you come up with your own style too, right? You see all of these different artists. If you check out, who are the ones that I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Art Deco by Natasha, Electric Mandala, Summer Tan, Rob Mack. If you've checked out Rob Mack, his work is insane. Just insane. It's just so freaking incredible. And every single one of them have taken the same basic techniques, and this is the American Idol thing, right? You took it and you made it your own. So it's finding what is that thread that is you, that shows up in your artwork, right? And what is that thing that no matter what you create, no matter what you paint, that you can look at and say, yeah, that's something that I did, right? So play around with stuff. You can change anything that you want. You do not have to do dots in these patterns, in these ways, ever. You can always do it whatever way you want to. And once you get comfortable with the basic techniques, then you'll start coming up with ideas on other ways to do things. You know, I had never seen somebody do a video of a swoop before when I started kind of trying to figure out how to do it. You just wing it and you go with it, right? I hope that helps anyway. So let's see. Awesome, you guys. When to use the pouring medium? I honestly would only use the pouring medium if you're using a really heavy-bodied acrylic paint. I don't use heavy-body acrylic paints, so I have not used any pouring medium to get ready for dotting. So that's not something that I use an awful lot. I've used it for actual pour painting, but I've never used it for dotting. But I also use craft acrylic paints that are already thin. So pouring medium really comes into play if you get a really thick craft acrylic paint that you need to thin down a little bit, or if you get, what am I thinking here? Or if you get the really thicker, heavy-bodied paints, like some of the Liquitex ones, Winsor & Newton, any of those really heavier acrylic paints. That's when you want to use the pouring medium. Anytime you need to thin down your paints. I bought a book at first, skipped the steps, went to Google search, then Lydia May. Yeah, Lydia May is amazing on YouTube. Will the design work if you put all the large dots in first? Yes, 100%. So you could start right here in the middle and slowly start gradually getting them larger and larger and larger and fill it in all the way out to the outside edge. 100%. That's okay, Autumn. It's amazing, isn't it? Mistakes is my signature. Got to, right? Yeah, Delicate Dots Andrea is fantastic. Christina. Yeah, really, really good options. I admire and drool over so many artist creations, but I find peace and fulfillment in how I do my art. Yes, everyone's got to find their own groove, and everyone's groove is uniquely beautiful. And that's the other thing to remember is, a lot of people say, well, so many other people are doing this. Literally nobody else in this world is you. Literally nobody else. You are the only you in this world, and that means that you are bringing unique experience, unique lives, unique stories in behind your art, and that is going to come out in your art. There's a reason why we choose certain colors and certain things bring us peace and calm, right? There's a reason for all of that, and that's because of who we are, and let it show, right? I've started doing a lot of rainbows because I've been feeling a little heavier mentally a lot of the time. So I start adding more and more bright colors. I've also gotten to the point where, I'm doing this for me. So I'm going to pick the colors and stuff that makes me happy and still work with people to come up with other ideas, but I still want to trust my own gut. What feels good to me, right? Always be doing it for yourself. And if you are doing it for the pure joy of it, then that is following your intuition. And that is a really important muscle to exercise, right? So just get comfortable with doing the things that you want to do. Whether other people like it or not, it doesn't matter. The people that don't like it are just not your people. Plain and simple, right? They're just not your people. All right, you guys. So I'm going to catch up on comments here, but I think that we've done a pretty good job so far. So this is where we've gotten so far. I'm going to keep working on this over the next couple of days, and I will, once we get the Facebook post, I'll keep posting there. I've got other projects that are only partly finished from other tutorials that I want to keep working on. I want to share the other stuff that I create. I want to share the stuff that you create. I want to just have some fun with it. So keep your eyes posted for that. Just one drop at a time. Exactly. And just breathe. And the other thing, when it comes to technique and technical wise, take your time. Most of the mistakes that I make are when I am distracted or going too quickly. Mostly going too quickly. Okay. So make sure you're taking your time and really breathing into the process. Don't rush it. Okay. Personally, I would use an acrylic medium. The medium is acrylic paint without the pigment. Essentially, you'd be re-wetting your paint. Ah, there you go. Re-show the examples. Okay, so we've got this one from today. I'm going to move this aside. This. And take some screenshots, you guys, of some examples. So there's this one. Screenshot number 1. Delicate Dots Andrea. She did this where she could do the center dots all the way around and build that in, right? She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. Check her out. And then let me find the picture that I put up. I just gotta scroll back a few minutes here. It's in a message, so I gotta scroll back. Hold on. And this is one, and I never finished this one. So that's another one. I hope that this stuff helps you guys. Bless you, Audrey. Little cat sneezes are pretty cute. All right, so there you go. So there are some different examples. There's where we got to today. And if you guys come up with questions, please let me know. Renee, I will tag you once the Facebook group is ready to go. And everybody else, keep your eyes peeled because that will be coming very, very shortly, like within the week at the absolute latest. And then we can really start playing around and having some fun in there. Allie, I will look into where to get that. Yeah, you should be able to get it at Michael's or Amazon, that sort of thing. Search for pouring medium. It's not the same as Flow Aid gel medium, and gel medium will thicken paints. Excellent advice. There you go. All right, you guys. Any other questions? Love you too, Rex. Any other questions that I can be answering for you guys? And hey, we've got Allie here. Any other questions for Allie too? Anything you can think of? Okay. You're most welcome, Jan. Thank you guys for coming to hang out. Please let me know if you have any questions, anything comes up, and I'll do my absolute best to help you out, okay? I love you guys, and thank you so much for choosing to spend so much time with me. I really appreciate it. It was good to hear your voice too, Allie. We need to catch up soon. It's been far too long. You have a great day too, Autumn. Thank you. Bye, Barb. Bye, Sharon. Bye, Jan. Bye, Allie. Bye, Rex. Bye, Axel, if you're still here. If I've forgotten everybody, I'm so sorry, but bye. Call out to Bug Lady Rex. Yeah, go check out Buggate on my TikTok if you want a good laugh. And we'll talk to you again very, very soon. Next week's tutorial topic will be posted by end of day on Monday, and hopefully other subsequent weeks after that too. We'll talk to you again very soon. Take care of yourself, Renee. It was lovely to have you here, and we'll definitely see you again soon. Bye, loves. Mwah. Bye.